Good morning and welcome back here to Churchill Downs, the site of the 150th Kentucky Derby in Kentucky Oaks. This is the Kentucky Derby Morning Work Show presented by Twin Spires. The track is fast, weather is clear, it is a crisp 49 degrees and the sun is starting to poke out. Let's take a look at the headlines. Yesterday's work tab, Resilience and Just FYI were the lone breezers, both for Hall of Fame trainer Bill Mott. Florida Derby winner Fierceness is settling in here to Churchill Downs. He is in the Pletcher barn, and it is expected that we will get our first look at him this morning. Pair of Kentucky Derby defections is going to move Grand Mo the First into the top 20. Fluid situation there with the Kentucky Derby in the Kentucky Oaks. We will keep up with that. And Churchill Downs opening night and 5-0 Tuesday. That is going to be next Tuesday to kick off Derby week. We are going to have a double draw today to draw both of those cards. So entries for Churchill Downs will be out later today. Caitlin Free and Tony Kalo going to be taking you through the action this morning here for the Kentucky Derby Morning Work Show presented by Twin Spires. Tony, I'm so proud of you, and I am so happy to be sharing a desk with you this morning.
Thank you so much, Caitlin. Great to be here, ladies and gentlemen, and great to be working with Caitlin. We just spent the winter at Turfway Park together, so pretty cool. We're on the air right now.
Absolutely not our first time together working, but our first time here at Churchill Downs. But let's go ahead and take a look at the leaderboard for Kentucky Derby 150. Sierra Leone Fierceness sitting on top. Tony, Fierceness just got in yesterday. Gonna get a chance to look at him for the first time on the track today.
Yeah, that'll be pretty cool. He's the champ, ladies and gentlemen. Just ran huge in the Florida Derby. He kind of reminds me of Spendabuck. We'll see. Is he that good? We'll find out.
Can be a horse that is a little bit feast or famine as we take a look at the second page here. Anna Marie feels like kind of the buzz horse at the moment, but really the story on this page is Grand Mo the First for Barboza Jr. drawing into the field.
Yep, he gets in. He just ran in the Florida Derby, kind of a non-factor. I'm not really a big fan of him, to be honest. Anna Marie, though, like you said, I've been watching this horse, been very impressed. He's kind of my long shot hope here.
Let's take a look at the also eligibles, just two at the moment. 21 on the outside looking in. Almost there is a horse we are familiar with, Tony, that is Epic Ride.
Epic Ride ran big in the Bluegrass. Let's see, John Ennis, Adam Biscuits. It'd be pretty cool if they could draw in.
Let's take a look back at the work yesterday for Resilience. This will be the first time we are seeing this, ladies and gentlemen. He breathed yesterday at around 9 a.m. So this was not on the work show yesterday as we get a look here at Resilience. Getting ready to start his work. He is off and rolling here. The exercise rider really hasn't asked him for much yet. And I like that they did a solo breeze with both Resilience and Just FYI, who we'll take a look at in just a moment. They breezed in company just a few days ago, so I like that Bill Mott had a chance to get a little bit more of a serious piece of work out of both of these horses. So there he is, taking off, Tony, and now starting to get in to the real serious part of this breeze. Yeah,
a little slow to get going, but here he's picked up his stride noticeably. We've already seen this move, Caitlin, and we both really like the gallop out. He's just doing a nice maintenance move right now. He just worked 4 days ago, so you don't really want to come back with too much. That's asking quite a bit. The final time, just a good steady Eddie move. Here he is. The exercise rider hasn't even asked him one bit. Head's a little bit high, but he's going to race to the quarter pole here, and let's see how he levels off on the turn.
Yeah, coming here off of the turn, getting into the stretch. He's noticeably picking up his stride here. Ears are pricked. He seems very, very serious with what he's doing, but really not being asked for an awful lot. And the energy is starting to pick up noticeably here as he gets ready to go past the finish line here. Looks like he's about at the 16th pole here at the moment, coming over into the stretch, really getting ready to start wrapping up this portion of the work, and we're getting ready to start the gallop out here, Tony. Tell me what you're seeing from him.
This is the best part of the move. He leveled off nicely in the final furlong, and he keeps his energy going strong through the clubhouse turn. This is what I really enjoyed the best about this move. The initial part of it, not that much, but that's what you want. You want horses finishing strongly in the morning. If they go too quick too early, they're not going to be able to gallop out with any enthusiasm. He's really into it right now, so the second part of this workout was definitely the better half.
Let's go ahead and take a look at the girls, the leaderboard here for the Kentucky Oaks. And within the past 24 hours, this has had a little bit of a shakeup. You will see a new name in the top 10 here, Regulatory Risk, who was second in the Gazelle, Tony, has now rejoined the field here for the Kentucky Oaks.
There she is, number 9. That's a pretty good group. Number 1, Tarifa. She's done all the heavy lifting in the fairgrounds in New Orleans. She's not getting a lot of respect from a lot of us, but the champ, just FYI, we're going to be watching a move from her coming up pretty soon. That's going to be very, very cool to look at.
Let's take a look at the second page here for the Kentucky Oaks. And just want to explain a couple of things. Well, there is just FYI. We will get into her work here coming up. And this was a move that they were able to see on the work show yesterday. And this was a work that Joe and James were very, very impressed with. Here she is getting ready to start this breeze here. Faster time than Resilience, and I think looked a good bit better than Resilience doing her work here. They worked in company a few days ago, as I mentioned, and I thought she was not as strong when she was working in company with Resilience. She is much more in herself, much more kind of on the muscle. Here she is by herself, and I think this was more of her serious piece of work going into the Kentucky Oaks versus what she was with Resilience, and probably with the other breeze that she's going to get later in the week, Tony.
Yeah, she had a quicker time than stablemate Resilience, and you could see it was because of the early part of the move. She was really eager to get into it. She's a very fresh individual. She's the champ. She's only had one race this season. It was a good second. This is a strong move, very impressive. Very good energy from the beginning to the end. The gallop out is very impressive as well. She's a specimen. We were talking about it before we came on air. I just haven't really seen too much of her as a 3-year-old. And boy, her back end is just so powerful. You can see where she gets all that foundation from. She's gonna be tough. She's definitely one of my top 2 or 3, that's for sure.
Yeah, this work really moved her up in my book as we take a look at the gallop out here for Just FYI. I like that she was able to get a very, very serious piece of work following only one race coming into this race. She needed that race, as we talked about earlier on. She was a little bit under the weather coming in before she made her debut, so it got pushed back a little bit. But I think after this breeze, Beaumont is going to feel a lot better about the way this horse is coming into this race, which he should have felt good about it in general. But let's go ahead and take a look at a promotion that Twin Spires has to offer for you coming up. Kentucky Derby weekend opening night, Saturday, April 27th through the last race on Kentucky Derby Day, Saturday, May 4th. Twin Spires is offering insurance on your win bets on all eligible races at Churchill Downs in the form of a $10 money back offer. Head to twinspires.com or the Twin Spires app for official rules. Select the offers page and opt in to participate in the Derby Week money back special. And Tony, great to have that insurance.
Yeah, it really is, fans. You bet $10, and if your horse doesn't get there, runs second or third, you're like, gosh, I didn't get to the winner's circle, but you know what? You get your $10 back.
I am hearing that we have a special guest walking onto the track here. There he is, ladies and gentlemen. It is Fierceness. This is the first look we are getting at the champion 2-year-old, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile winner, and probably the favorite for the Run for the Roses here. This is his first appearance that he is making trackside, as you will see the media lined up here, and just getting ready to start an easy gallop here, Tony. Yeah,
pretty cool. He has arrived. What can you say? Like you said, feast or famine, huh? The Breeders' Cup Juvenile victory was absolutely incredible. Not a very good effort in his initial start as a 3-year-old, and then he comes back and just really amazes us all with that performance. By far the most impressive performance of any 3-year-old so far this season. But what do we get? What do we get with Fierceness? Do we get the champ or do we get the dud?
Speaking of horses that kind of maybe ran a little bit of a dud last time out, that is Dornoch, as we get a look at him here. And they tried to switch up tactics with him in the Bluegrass last time out. They tried to take him off the pace to see what happens. It did not work. So, Tony, I am expecting Dornoch to be forwardly placed.
And if Dornoch is forwardly placed, that is really going to get this tempo pretty
Yes.
intense. You know, I love late closers. I've always been biased to late closers. I guess maybe being a track announcer, it's so much fun to call the horses closing from far out of it. So I'm always hoping for a fast pace. He's making a good impression. Boy, he is a beautiful individual.
Yes,
There's
he
no
is.
question about it. He's much bigger than Mage. He doesn't even look like his younger brother, who was the champ last year, winning the Derby. The champ is winning the Derby, what I'm saying. But very, very, very good-looking individual. It's going to be interesting to see how he performs.
Yeah, he just breezed a few days ago, so just getting a light jog over the surface here. That is Dornoch, the full
Very beautiful,
brother,
beautiful horse.
the full brother to Mage, as you mentioned, and he and Mage are very different type of horses. You know, Mage was a little bit more of a small and compact individual, very flashy looking, and he was an out the back type of a closer. Dornoch is the complete opposite. So very interesting that the damn Puka is able to throw multiple types of horses. And per John Stewart, who owns Puka now, just a couple of weeks ago, I believe she had a full brother to both Mage and Dornoch.
Yeah, I read that also. Look at him. He is just, I mean, if it was a beauty contest, he could be the winner.
All right, let's go ahead and pivot now to Mystic Dan. There he is, also getting a light jog over the track for trainer Kenny McPeak. And I think what would really upgrade this horse, I'm crossing my fingers that it doesn't happen, but if it did, if the track came up, what Mystic Dan gets highly elevated in my book.
Yeah, that was a pretty awesome victory he had over an off track at Oaklawn. I'm a little confused with this horse. I've looked at his PPs, and he seemed to be forwardly placed in a lot of his early races, and then in the Arkansas Derby, he came from a little farther back, so I'm not sure what kind of tactics are going to be employed by him.
All right, we are back once again here to Fierceness as he is continuing to gallop over the track here at Churchill Downs, and he's just a long, rangy looking type of an individual, and what we're seeing from him here is just kind of a light jog, starting to maybe gallop out just a little bit, coming out of that little bit of a stronger gallop, but ears pricked, well within himself, and listening to the cues that he's getting from his exercise rider.
He's just getting a feel for the racetrack. You don't want him to come out and exert too much energy on day one. They know what they have with him, and he just needs to get his surroundings situated. You know, Churchill Downs can be very intimidating for a lot of horses, especially on Derby week. There's a lot of cameras, lots of eyes on them, and let them get to relax. I love when they do this. They just let them take a nice little breather, absorb the whole environment, and get right back to it.
He had a work a few days back, and the quote that Todd Pletcher gave clocker Mike Welsh is, I thought he worked super. A solid 5/8 with a good gallop out, exactly what we were looking for. And I think he's doing every bit as good, if not better, than he was going into the Florida Derby. So good look there at Fierceness. Here is Mystic Dan once again in the stretch and galloping once again here in front of the fans, Tony.
Yeah, this is a Mystic Dan, as Caitlin has mentioned, and nice gallop here, like his ears all pricked up, and seems to be strong. It looks like a good little gallop for him.
Yeah, a very easy type of a gallop. We're going to see some horses that are doing a little bit more serious gallops. We're not going to see a couple of horses on the track because they were already out early this morning. They're going to be out later. They had a work yesterday. We're
trying to take off right there.
Yeah, there he is. He's trying to up his tempo just a little bit.
Yeah.
So Mystic Dan, we are still following here, and there's scheduled to be quite a few horses on track at the moment. So we'll see if we can take a look at some of the others that could potentially be on track here. But Mystic Dan, once again, and you kind of mentioned he's kind of got a little bit of a versatility edge to him. He can close, he can be mid-pack, he can overcome traffic. So I think he's maybe going to be one of those horses that could potentially be a wise guy horse.
He could be. I looked at him. I looked at him for a little bit, and I'm a little concerned possibly with the back end, the blood, getting the 1.25 miles. That's always one of the big question marks for these horses in the Kentucky Derby, is who's going to be able to get the distance. I thought he ran well in the Arkansas Derby. I'm just a little confused with what kind of tactics. But like you said, he'll probably, I don't see him being amongst the early action, but he could be in the second flight perhaps.
We talked about horses that could potentially be the quote-unquote buzz horse coming into the week. There's always a couple Derby horses that are buzz horses. I can remember some a few years back. But Honor Marie, from what I am gathering, as we are about 12, 10 type of days out from the Derby and some of those more serious parts where we're going to be nailing down picks. Honor Marie for Whit Beckman, I think, is that horse at the moment.
You know, I was putting a top 10 together last week, and I had him right up there. I had him like 3 or 4. I was very impressed with his Louisiana Derby. He's only had 2 starts. He's already shown a fondness for this racetrack. He had a great 2-year-old season here. His Risen Star, he was a little farther back and made the run, but I thought he really made leaps and bounds improvement into the Louisiana Derby. He was a lot closer to Catching Freedom than he was to him in the Risen Star. He actually had first run on him. He was in front of him swinging into the lane, and I thought it was an excellent race from him. He's only had the 2 preps, a 1 1/8 and a 1 3/16, so he's got a good foundation building into this affair. I liked his workout 2-back when he went 47 and change, and I'm really enjoying what I'm seeing here. This is a good horse, and if they go hot and heavy up front, he could be one that's really going to pick up the pieces.
And Whit Beckman has said that he is not concerned with this horse getting the 1 1/4, and he thinks he's going to get better as the distances get longer, and clearly wanting to do a little bit more here as we take a look at Honor Marie than just this little light gallop he's getting. He's like, no, I'm ready to go. So yeah. Honor Marie feeling very, very good this morning, and he's the type of horse that, as you mentioned, has the experience over this track. He likes the surface. He's going to potentially get better as the distances get longer. He's a horse that I think you absolutely must include underneath, if nothing else, in your supers, in your high fives. So I think he's going to be a key horse here in the Kentucky Derby.
I would agree. And if he makes the same move that he made from the Risen Star to the Louisiana Derby, he's going to make up lengths on Catching Freedom, and that's going to be big. I find this horse very, very interesting at a good number. But the one thing I am concerned is, you mentioned he's the buzz horse. He's the wise guy horse. And it seems like every time over the years when I seem to jump on the wise guy or buzz horse, it doesn't pan out. But maybe it's different with this guy. I like what I'm seeing from him. Don't know a little bit about the head action, but so horses are quirky like that. Some of them like to just play around in the morning like that. Yeah, exactly. He's all leveled off now. It was right when he came to the head-on with us, and we get to see, and maybe, I don't know, maybe he's just trying to showboat a little.
I think he was maybe just wanting to do a little bit more and get a little bit more into the gallop. He's like, I'm feeling good this morning. Yeah. And horses kind of, as a lot of people know, like when it's around this 40 or 50 degree type of a temperature. So this is like peak horse weather out there right now.
I was just going to say that, you know, driving in, a beautiful full moon, and it's nice and crisp. And boy, these horses must have really been feeling themselves this morning, getting ready for this. And you could tell by that gallop right there. That was very good.
Finishing up his gallop out there and just jogging out of that, there is Honor Marie. Really liked what I saw from him this morning. He's still feeling quite good there, well within himself, and can see some horses there in the background. Just saw an Oaks winner go by, but let's take the first look that I am getting here at Catalytic for the Saffie Joseph Jr. Barn. I believe this is a horse that was a second, but a distant second to Fierceness in the Florida Derby. I believe he just arrived here a couple of days ago. This is the first look I am getting at Catalytic, and it was announced late yesterday that Jose Ortiz going to be named the jockey here for Catalytic, Tony.
How about Jose Ortiz on Ruby Day, huh?
Yes.
He comes into Kentucky and made quite the impression ASAP. Catalytic, I'm a little unfamiliar with this horse, to be honest, Caitlin. I'm trying to get him typed up here. Maybe you can carry me a little bit on him. You did say he ran second in the Florida Derby, and Saffie Joseph, I'm assuming he's been at Gulfstream Park most of the winter.
Yes, he had a work not that long ago and just got here within the last 48 hours. So this is the first time I've seen him on track this morning. This is probably the first time he's actually been on the track, to be quite honest, unless he was not out for training hours yesterday, which was quite possible. But let's take a look at one of the Brad Cox trainees. This is Catching Freedom. I know that this is a horse that you are looking forward to talking to. This is actually Forever Young here, not Catching Freedom. And Forever Young is a horse I want to talk about.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a horse that I am very excited about. And one thing that is interesting about Catching Freedom, he's working, not working, but galloping with a Dale Romans trainee. He's galloping with Floki's Flight, who has been his buddy since he arrived here at Churchill Downs, and a different rider on board for Forever Young this morning. This is the jockey that will be on board him in the Kentucky Derby. That is Ryusi Sakai, going to be the jockey for the Kentucky Derby. He's in town today and tomorrow on board Forever Young.
Well, we know that you have the affinity in your heart for the Japanese bred horses. You've been picking them for, what, a year or two now? I know last year. I'm not sure about a couple of years.
Yeah, I picked Derma Sotogake last year, who's turned out to be a top order horse, almost won the Breeders' Cup Classic last year, was a good second to Wida Barrio. And I will say, a perfect 5 for 5 for Forever Young. This horse is better than Derma Sotogake.
Yeah, I think so probably also at this stage of his career.
Absolutely.
I did read something about how he doesn't like kickback, so therefore he had the wide trip. How does that affect you? Obviously, if he draws inside, that could be a detriment.
He does not like kickback, but they have remedied a solution. And I'm excited to talk more about this with Yoshida Yahagi. So his solution to aiding this horse in the UAE Derby was he was a little bit wider than typical, but this horse can go a significant amount of distance. So I don't know how that's going to play a role in the Kentucky Derby, but the equipment change he made was he had Forever Young in a hood in the UAE Derby, but it was an earless hood, so it wasn't technically an equipment change. It was just the mask portion of the hood, which kind of aided the kickback flying back into his nose and his eyes. He doesn't have blinkers. He doesn't have the earmuffs. He just has the outline of the hood. And having him a little bit wider and off the pace really helped this horse. And I think he took a huge step forward in the UAE Derby. And one thing that I also noticed about him, he was able to switch leads really easy in the UAE Derby. And I was a little bit hesitant on him coming out of the Saudi Derby, which he won just on pure talent. He didn't switch leads. He didn't like the kickback, but he won in spite of himself and got up just by a nose, but made quick work of the UAE Derby field.
So the talent is there. He just has to overcome some. And we'll see. Well, you know, eventually you would have to think one of these years, one of the Japanese horses is going to show up and hit the board, if not even win the race. Is it going to be this year? We'll see.
I think there's a good chance that it could happen. And Joe Christofek was quoted at a seminar the other day saying the Japanese will win the Kentucky Derby in the next 10 years. I think it could be as soon as the next 3 or 5. This could be the winner right here. Actually.
You would have to think so, especially with the way they've had success in the Breeders' Cup, and all the international races. It's just a matter of time.
Let's switch gears over to Catching Freedom. Just a few moments ago, there is Catching Freedom galloping. He has his neck bowed. Means business there, Tony.
Yeah, he sure does. This is a cool horse. His work, that 48 work I saw the other day from him was pretty sensational. Very, very talented horse. I want to try to get Honor Marie in front of him. I'm not sure if it's going to happen. This is very impressive right here.
I have mixed feelings about this horse coming into the Derby this year. I'm just not quite sure I've seen what I needed to see from him to kind of put him in that top tier type of horses, with Sierra Leone, Fierceness, Forever Young. I rate stablemate just a little bit above him in this race.
Yeah.
But I can totally see Catching Freedom jumping up and running a big race. I think he's not going to be too far off of some of the pace setters in here.
You don't think he'll be far back like he has been?
I don't think he'll be horribly far back.
Okay.
Not horribly far back. Maybe, not as far back as Sierra Leone and some of the others,
Sure.
I would think. So maybe
He's coming into this affair very strongly.
he looks excellent.
He really does. This is a very impressive gallop this morning. His workout the other day was ultra impressive. He's catching my eye, no question about it.
One thing that I'm really gathering from him is he stands out physically to me. He is well muscled out. He's well rounded, and I really like the way
very well proportioned as well.
Yes, I like the way his coat looks. His coat
very true.
does not look dull in the slightest, and he's coming up from the south, so maybe it's coming into a little bit of colder temperatures as of late. He's been here for a little while, but I will say, physically, whether it be his coat, his skin, the way he is muscled, he's one of the better looking horses I've seen on the ground.
I would agree. I think he's absolutely beautiful. Very, very impressed by this guy. He's really moving up in my ranks. I had him around 3 or 4. I think he's definitely number 3, I would have to say. That's for me. I think everyone has Fierceness and Sierra Leone, whether it's Fierceness or Leone 1-2. I think that's pretty safe to say. Wouldn't you agree?
I would say those are definitely the top 2.
Those are the A's.
But here is one of the A's for the Kentucky Oaks. Here's our girl, Torpedo Anna.
Yeah, she was super impressive. Look at her, too. She's got a nice body to her. She's got good size. This is very impressive individual we're looking at. Loved her race in the fantasy. That was absolutely breathtaking. And she covered a lot of ground, and she's going to be one of the players. Definitely, I've got her in the top 3. This is just nice and easy, just taking it all in, not trying to do too much.
She was a horse that I really liked as a 2-year-old. I liked what I saw from her at Churchill Downs. She only had 1 loss in her career, and she was coming back off of short rest. She was still just kind of a little bit more of an inexperienced type of a 3-year-old filly. She was a bargain price. She broke her maiden in one of those restricted maiden races, but boy, I was not expecting her to be a distance type of a horse. I expect her to maybe be a 7 furlong or a miler type, but man, she has just taken a massive step forward from age 2 to 3. I love the race.
She has the size to be a 2-turn horse.
She absolutely does. And the way Kenny McPeak has developed her has just been quite pleasing to me. And he said that they need to bring a bear into the Oaks because he is bringing a grizzly, and he would not be afraid to take on the colts with her. That is a big statement.
That's a great analogy. I use that once in a while for myself. Don't let the Teddy get confused sometimes when he could turn into grizzly.
Absolutely. Torpedo Anna, she is moving quickly up my list.
Yeah, I agree.
I believe I had her 3rd when I did my updates last, and I potentially am inclined to put her 2nd or even 1st on my list. After the work that she had getting a look at her gallop out today, she is just a filly that I think, like just FYI, has caught my attention the most and seemed to really be peaking at the right time.
I completely agree. Both of those 2 fillies have the size and scope they just look super impressive. They pass the visual test, and she's right there. Look at her.
A good visual that we are going to get here in just a moment is a look at Tapajanali. This is the first time I have actually seen this filly. Here she is schooling in the brand new $200 million paddock. This opened for schooling yesterday. This was earlier on this morning between 5 and 6 a.m. Just kind of walking around and getting a feel for it. As you will see, we do have spacious horse paths here in the paddock. So there was something a few people were worried about. How wide are the paths? They're wide. I can tell you they are. I've been down there, and it's good to see a horse down there for reference. We had some shots of her weaving in and out of the stalls, just getting familiar with the type of area that we're going to be seeing in here, how she's going to be moving in those stalls. Those stalls don't have a backing the way a lot of the traditional paddocks do. You have the glass in the background, which the horses can't see through that glass there, but the public can see through to them. So it's definitely going to be soundproof there, but the public will be able to look at in the parlay out there into the paddock and see these horses. But Tapajanali just taking it all in, Tony.
There's lots of room there. Until you're down there, you do not realize how big it really is.
Yes, you truly do not realize just how big it is. Well, let's go ahead and talk about a couple more promotions here for Twin Spires that they're going to be bringing you. Once again, the $10 money back special. This is going to kick off on opening night through the last race on Kentucky Derby Day in a form of that $10 money back special. Head over to twinspires.com or the Twin Spires app for the official rules. Select the offers page to opt in for that Derby week money back special. And we also have another promotion as presented to you by Twin Spires. That is going to be the Thursday leaderboard contest, going to kick off this year with Thurby. Make at least a $10 win wager on a single horse. Earn points if that horse runs first, second, or third. Climb the leaderboard. Share your name for a chance to win that $2,500 prize. The contest is free to enter. All you have to do is head on to twinspires.com or the Twin Spires app. Once again, select the offers page and opt into that Thurby leaderboard contest. And Tony, this is going to be your first Thurby next week. You're going to have your first Kentucky Oaks and Kentucky Derby. But Thurby, it's for the locals. It's exciting. People still dress up the way they would for Derby or Oaks, but it's a big party, and I'm excited to see you just enjoying the festivities.
I'm looking forward to it, no question about it. Never really been here at Churchill Downs, and here I am working Derby 150. Pretty cool.
So what are your final thoughts as we got a look at some of the horses on track? We saw Fierceness for the first time. We saw horses schooling in the paddock for the first time. A lot to look at this morning.
A lot to look at, a lot to digest. Obviously, the two powerful fillies made quite an impression. No question about that. very impressed with what I saw from Catching Freedom as well. I'm kind of liking him a little bit, that's for sure.
I will admit, I didn't think I was going to like him as much as I did this morning, but he was sitting on go completely throughout that gallop, and I've talked about it a couple of times. The way that horse looks physically, his coat, the way his skin is stretching over his muscles, the way, you know, he is muscled out, the way his hindquarters look, and just the way he is carrying himself, he really exceeded my expectations. The way he looked on track this morning. Torpedo Anna, I have been impressed with for a couple of months now, but she just continues to move up my list, and maybe I need to keep taking Catching Freedom just a little bit more seriously here. But that's going to wrap it up for us today on this Tuesday edition of the Morning Work Show presented by Twin Spires. I'm going to be back tomorrow on Wednesday, and Forever Young slated to work tomorrow. He's going to be on our workout list, and I will be joined by Travis Stone, the voice of the Kentucky Derby. But we're going to sign off for today, and good luck on your wagers for the rest of the week. So a little bit of time to wrap up with Keeneland, but then we'll be back here at Churchill Downs for opening night on Saturday. And don't forget, going to draw those races today.